Uh,
Sometimes good to label x1, y1, or x2, y2.
okay, yeah, wait. I'm changing my slope to -1/3, not -2/3.
Okay, yeah, still not quite right. The slope's got to be positive because you're going up and to the right, up and to the right. Um, -2 double -6 ends up giving you 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. I've got 1
4/12.
as
Uh,
and that's where reasonableness, right? Like it's got to be, up 1 over 1. I know that these the one thing I don't like about Desmos doesn't default to scale of 1. It should for students, but um the slope is 1 here. It's going up 1 over 1 and so on. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is to determine the perpendicular,
the point.
the perpendicular slope to 1. So the question is, how do you go from 1 to its perpendicular? To do that, let's do a few examples here. So if I give you the slope perpendicular, let's say the slope is like 2/3. The perpendicular is -3/2. Let's say the slope is a -4/5. The perpendicular is 5/4. Do you see the pattern? What is the pattern to go from the slope to its perpendicular slope?
You're flipping it and
Flipping it n, and
making
if
it
it's already negative, it becomes positive. So if it's a whole number, like let's say it's 3 or 3/1, that becomes -1/3. If it's 1/7, it becomes -7/1. Now in your problem, its slope is 1. So you have to flip it. When it's a whole number, you have to make it a fraction. So you flip it and then negate it. What would that look like as a result?
-1/1.
Yep. Okay. So we're doing really well. Step 3, and there's F, by the way. Step 3 is to write the equation from X to F. So you have the slope, okay, and it's got to go through that point there. Okay, so the only reasonable one here is point slope form
Right.
because you have a 0.20 and a slope of -1. Y minus y1 equals the slope x minus x1. This is y minus 0 equals -1 x minus 2. Y equals -1 times x minus 2. So this is the equation. And sometimes you're done when it asks for the equation. Like in your problem, it asks for a lot of things, but we we're actually, we've done a bunch of this now. We did. So let me label some things here because I did kind of get going crazy. We have done we have kind of done part A. This is kind of part A. The reason I say it's kind of is we don't know exactly where F is. We're just sort of saying roughly it's there.
Mhm.
Okay. This is part C. The slope, I'm sorry, part C is the perpendicular slope. Ah, sorry, this is part C. Part D is what we part D is what we just did by writing the equation down here. This is all part D.
Okay, I got that.
Okay. Um, for part B, let's just do part B real quick. Oh, we did part B. Sorry.
Mhm.
It is right here. Okay. So you actually have everything. A, B, C, and D.
Nice.
Let me know when you got all that down, or if you need to get more of this down, we can then go to,
Yeah, I got it all.
okay. So let's do another problem here where we're looking at the same triangle, but this time we want to find the altitude Z E VP. Okay.
ZP.
ZP. So P is over here somewhere. We don't know exactly where. I know I've drawn it there, but it's maybe not exactly there. The first letter, just like the median and the perpendicular bisector, tells you the one that it goes through.
So in this case, ZP. So it's going to the left to Z.
Well, it's like you presume that X to Y is your ground, and then Z is the airplane, and you're going straight down from the airplane.
Mhm.
So we're actually going to find that P is a little more down here. That's what it looks like. Because if you rough sketch, really a rough sketch here, it's got to meet at 90 degrees.
Mhm.
And that one roughly meets at 90 degrees. I know you can't rotate the screen, but if you could, it would look like that. So how to do this? The recipes are, and the assignment is giving you the steps. It's like step one is to find the slope from X to Y. The slope from X to Y here. So 2, 0, 4, -6. Could you find the slope between those 2 points for us, please?
Wouldn't this have to be a positive slope?
You're going from X to Y. If you're always going from left to right, and that tells you, whether it's positive or negative, whether you're going up, that's positive, down,
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say we're going from X to Y?
X to Y. You're always going from left to right.
Okay, so then I think this might be right. Is it -6/2 or -3/1?
Okay, so let's take a, that sounds pretty good. So it'd be like -6 -0 over 4 -2, -6/2, which is -3. Okay.
And then
So now the next thing is to determine the perpendicular slope.
and what point do we use for that again?
You're not using a point, you're using the slope. You're doing this whole thing we did here in these examples where you're flipping it and
Like
then
flipping it?
negating it.
Oh, okay. So
I'm negating it. So
-1 or sorry, not negative, 1/3.
that's right. Okay. So now we're into like, if you go back to your piece of paper that you're working from, we're on part D now. So you have the slope of this red line and you know that it goes through Z. Okay, so slope of the red line and it goes through Z. That means you're going to write the equation. Okay, so you need a point, which is Z, and the slope, which is 1/3.
Okay, got it.
So your Z is what, 8, -2?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Is it 8 - 2 equals 1/3?
no, this is okay. It's okay to leave it like this.
Okay, my bad.
I mean, the double negatives should be simplified, but it's okay to leave it like this. Like when it says in point slope form, this is point slope form. You're done.
Okay, true.
And you gotta remember that because like it's easy to start multiplying by fractions, and then it's I don't know. It's like your car's parked and you're not driving yet, but then you drive up onto the curb. You don't want to do it. Just you're done. You parked. You're good. Um, right. Let's do another triangle problem. So I'm going to graph a couple of points. You can take a short break here while I'm figuring out if these are good points or not. Let's put some of these on the screen so I can see them. I'm gonna graph some of these just to see what I see. It's all right. Let's get rid of those. Right. This will be okay. All right. So we're gonna look at the last one here.
Number 10.
I've got it graphed here for us. Okay. There's L, M, and N. Okay. And this is a good example. We really should have started with this example. Probably you saw something like this in the classroom. If you want altitude M, P, if you draw a line straight down, you agree that it hits there at 90-degree angle?
Yeah.
Right. Because it an altitude is literally going straight down. And this is horizontal. That is what an altitude is. Sometimes it's inside the triangle, sometimes truthfully it's outside the triangle, depending on what you've got. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Now, if you were to write this equation, do you remember the equation of a vertical line?
Ooh.
So it is x equals a number.
Okay.
So it's x equals, and it's whatever the x value is along here. What is the x value along here? You'll have to use the coordinates to figure that out.
5.
X equals 5. Okay. So you're not going to get that on a test or quiz because it's way too easy. But that is the idea. Now the one you're going to get here most likely is something like altitude LP, we'll say. So LP, so it goes through L, and if you're drawing a rough sketch, like, does that meet at 90 degrees there? Does that look, reasonable to you? Or is it more in the middle, or is it more off to the left here? Like which looks more like 90 degrees to you?
More in the middle.
There's actually this one over here on the left. And I know that's kind of hard to, until you've done
I
a bunch
guess,
of
yeah,
tables.
that makes sense though, because it's
It's
straight
not that
up.
easy though. It's not that easy to figure that out until you've seen a bunch of, but it's something like that. So there's P somewhere there. But that's not what, like, you don't have to find P. Like in an honors class, you probably are finding P, but not in this class. So while that's nice, and L is, like I said, let's give you all these points, 3 comma -6. M is 5 -3, and N is 8 -6. All right. I want you to first find the slope from M to N.
M
M
to
to
N, you
N.
said.
Yeah.
This is 3/3,
Okay, what does that reduce to?
1.
Reduces to 1, good. Okay. All right, now, what is the slope perpendicular to that?
-1?
-1,
Or
yeah.
is okay, yeah. I thought there was something more to it, but yeah.
Nope, it's flip. I mean, one is really 1/1. You flip it, you negate it. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So now you want to write the equation that goes from L to P, L to P. Now I've done a couple of examples of that, so I think there's enough here for you to give that a try. Let me know what you come up with.
Is it 3/2?
No, I'm asked for the equation of the line. Equation of the line.
Oh, okay. I totally misheard you. I thought you were asking.
That's
Okay.
okay. That's
Yeah, I have
okay.
the
Yeah.
equation. That's not hard. Wait, what's my
Yep.
point though? Am I using 3 comma -6? Because that's
Yes. It has to be through L. L to
yeah.
LP
Okay.
has to go through L. So that tells you the point. You actually don't know P. You'll never find P in your class, although you could find P.
My bad. Okay, yeah, I have that. Y plus 6 equals -1 parentheses x minus 3.
Good. Okay. I feel like you got that down. Let's talk about perpendicular bisectors now.
Okay.
So what's different about these, and I'll just I'll just grab one of these triangles we've already done. Let me grab this. So the perpendicular bisector is different than the ones we've just done because it does not go through a vertex typically.
Okay.
That's important for me to write down. Does not go through a vertex. Okay. So they typically it'll say this, it'll be like, what is the perpendicular bisector of LN? So notice that, like, unlike the other problems we've done, these are both on there. Okay. So to find the perpendicular bisector, you first find the midpoint of LN. The
ln.
midpoint of LN. Yes. Let me throw those coordinates up here. 3, -6, 8, -6. So you can either use the midpoint formula or you can do it without that. You can just sort of justify it.
I can do the midpoint formula.
Okay.
Is it 5.5 comma? Would that be negative? -6?
Let's go 11/2, comma, -6 like that.
Oh
All
wait,
right.
why is it why is it negative? I thought it'd be -6 plus -6.
Okay, that's true. 2, they add together to make -12 divided by 2. So let me write that out here. -12 divided by 2.
-6.
All right, so now the midpoint, and we're just gonna roughly draw it here, 5.5, and it's about there. Now visually, perpendicular bisector is going to be perpendicular to this. So see how it does not go through the vertex, it just goes straight up and down in this case?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's elements of all of these that are the same. Like this one goes up and down, meets at 90 degrees, but it does not go through the vertex. And it's a little bit odd. It's like, oh, what do you mean by that? But it does meet at 90 degrees. And I'm just drawing this one for now. So let's do kind of a better one next. We'll go back to one of the original ones that you had thrown at me here. Let's see. This one. All right. So all right, so here we go. We got this triangle right here. This is Z 2, 0. This is 4, -6. Okay, so we want to find the perpendicular bisector between X and Y. So again, notice that X and Y are vertices. You first determine the midpoint of X and Y. So I'd like you to do that for us, please.
-3, 3.
Okay. So you said -3, 3 or 3, -3, which one?
-3.
So -3 is over here. Like -3, 3 is up here somewhere. Like, so let's just check your signs here on this. It's 2 + 4 over 2, comma 0 + -6 over 2. 3, comma -3, which puts
I did that
you.
wrong. Yeah, no, that was just an equation error on my part. I rushed that. I know how to
Okay.
do that, but yeah.
We're
So
we're
it's 2
practicing
plus
for the
4
real.
over 2 is 3, and then the 0 plus the -6 would be the -3. Got it.
Okay. So the line here, the perpendicular to this, like if you're trying to figure out like what does it look like that's 90 degrees, like visually it's something like that.
Mhm.
Something like that. Maybe not, maybe it's a little bit more up or down, but it's something like that. Notice it does not go through Z. Was this talked about in class?
No, I thought we always went to a point.
So there's three things you're doing. Like, let's make sure that I'm not covering something you don't need. One is the median. We did that last week.
Mhm.
2 is the altitude. We did that today. And the third is what's called the perpendicular bisector. Do you want to scan your notes and see if you see anything on that? That we don't keep proceeding down this road if we don't need to.
Yeah. The altitude, 2 and 3, I understand, and then the median.
No. Yeah, the 3 you're not. This is 3 is what we're doing, and this is not clear to you because you're like, well, I'm surprised it doesn't go through Z. That's because it's different than 2.
Oh, is is that line considered? I thought that was a totally. So
This is
that
a
is
perpendicular.
considered.
This is a perpendicular bisector. And altitude is different. It's got some overlap. Like these three things overlap in some way,
Right.
but
No,
they're not the same, and they're all different recipes that I'm concerned that maybe isn't clear how to do.
no, I know they're all different. The altitude's clear, and then I think we can keep on working on the perpendicular bisector then, just because
Okay.
I don't know how to do that part with the.
Okay, so now the perpendicular bisector, like we're just drawing it visually, but like we can actually find the equation of it. So you start with the midpoint, but then you also find the slope of this line, the slope of xy. Okay, so let me just let me just grab this, all this, go down. And you already did this. We already found the slope of xy at some point. It's -3. And then you need the perpendicular slope to it, which is 1/3. All right, so to write the equation of the perpendicular bisector, you need a point, which you didn't have before. You need the point, which is 3 comma -3, the actual middle of it. And then you need the slope perpendicular, which is 1/3. So now just like the other ones, you're going to write it in point slope form. Y minus y1 equals slope x minus x1.
Mhm.
And you're using this point here. So y minus a -3 equals 1/3 x minus 3. The double negative you want to combine.
Got it.
And you're done. All right, let me graph something else. All right, so that's not gonna work. Let's go. All right, here is another triangle for us to look at. Right, so M, L, and this is an obtuse triangle. It's gonna have angle greater than 90 degrees. We
Mhm.
want to find the perpendicular bisector MN, between MN. So you go to MN, and there's something that cuts it in half and kind of meets at 90 degrees, something like that. It's good to kind of draw a rough sketch of it. Like it doesn't go through L. It could go through L, but it doesn't in this case, and it meets at 90 degrees here. So there's a set of steps here to follow. The first is to determine the midpoint M. And so I'm going to give you those points here, 2 comma -3, and then N is 8 comma -6. Go ahead and find the midpoint between those, please.
Is this 5 comma -4.5?
Okay, very good. So that's roughly where the midpoint is. That's if we call that P, P is 5 comma -4.5. Okay.
Mhm.
The next thing is to find the slope of that line, slope of MN.
Okay. Hmm. I have -9/6, which is really 3/2.
So it's going down and to the right, so it's got to be
Okay.
negative. That's the first issue. You've got sign errors. X1, Y1. I'm sorry. Well, let's not do that way. Let's go left to right like we're supposed to. So we should go X1, Y1, X2, Y2. -6 minus a -3 over 8 minus 2, like that. So if you don't have that, you know, take another look at that. It does reduce to
-3/6.
okay. And what does that reduce to?
-1/2.
-1/2. Good. Okay. Now that's great, but that's the slope of this line. This line here, we don't want that line. We want the slope of the red line. That's the perpendicular slope. So what's the perpendicular to -1/2?
2/1.
2/1. So the slope of this line is 2/1. You know, it's the perpendicular.
Mhm.
Now, if you were to write the equation of this line,
I got my slope. I just need the point.
yep, and you have the point. You just found it. 5 comma minus
4.
4.5. So go ahead and write that equation for me, please.
Y minus 4.5 equals 2/1 X minus 5.
So it's a double negative. Y minus a minus 4.5. I think I heard
Yeah.
hear the plus. It should be, so it should be plus Y plus 4.5 when you simplify 2 times X minus 5, like that. All right, now do you have in your notes the steps for finding each of these, you know, finding the median,
Yeah. We
finding the
passed, yeah. But
okay. Because it's really not if you know the steps, it's really not that difficult, but you have to remember them for the test or the quiz. So I mean that would be really important to remember between now and day 2. Um, because without that you'll never get this right. So let's see here. Um, looking for another problem for us to do. All right, so here's another triangle. Here, L, using the same letters. I'm just trying to, why isn't that going to my pencil? Pen? Whoa. Okay, so we'll just kind of close out here with let's say I wanted the median NP. So the median NP, it has to go through N, and P over here is the midpoint. P is the midpoint there. So there, and it cuts this in half and this in half. Yeah, not to scale. We also talked about the idea of like an altitude MQ. Okay, so that means it has to go through M, but then Q is somewhere over here on LN to be determined. But the big thing is that it meets at 90-degree angle.
Mhm.
Okay. That's what's really critical there. Then the last one here is the perpendicular bisector of MN. So notice that those two letters are already there on the left here. There's M, there's N. You don't have to find the third point, but it cuts it in half, roughly in half. These are congruent and it meets at 90-degree angles. So that's kind of your summary of what we've done today. You have to be able to do all three of these. Some overlap in terms of like steps, but they're not anywhere near the same. And if you do the wrong one, I don't know what to tell you because like I don't think like that's going to give you credit, but something to you really want to know how to do each of these and do them like when you get to the quiz, do them in the order. Like if you know how to do median, then altitude, then perpendicular bisector, go do the median first, then the altitude, then the perpendicular bisector.
Got it.
All right, we are going to stop there.